So, you guys have probably seen on my channel, if you're a subscriber, I know you've probably seen it, a video that I made for Emma around her birthday, kind of talking about her birth story and about some ways that she changed me and things like that. So, now that it's about to be Noah's birthday, I thought it was time to give his story and what he affected in my life and how he changed me as a person and a mother. So I think I'll go ahead and get started with Noah's story. Okay, so I will start at the beginning so we get his whole story. So Matt and I got married in May, and then and I was on birth control. We got married in May. The birth control affected me very negatively. It was awful. I was a raging maniac. So we decided for me to go off of birth control. And we did. And I guess then we weren't really trying to have a baby, but we weren't really protecting against it either. So we were just kind of leaving it up to God. If He wanted to bless us, then that was up to Him. So we got married in May. And Emma was 18 months old at the time. And then the end of July, the beginning of August, I took a pregnancy test and it popped up positive. And I was sitting on the toilet and I just started to cry. And Matt went white in the face and just was like, what are we going to do? Kind of the same way we were when we found out about being pregnant with Emma. But this time we already knew about being parents, so it wasn't really, we were scared to have another baby. We were more worried about how it was going to affect Emma and affect us becoming a family of 4. So after the shock wore off, we got excited about it. Well, and I found out very early on about the pregnancy. So I would think it was around 6 weeks I started spotting. And it was like a darker color, and at first I completely freaked out, and because I wasn't really sure about what it was. Am I losing the baby? Because I hadn't really heard about implantation bleeding before until I started reading about it after the scare with Noah. So immediately when you start bleeding during pregnancy, you automatically start being worried about the worst possible scenario, which is miscarriage. So I went to the hospital and they had me waiting there forever and ever and ever. And it's like, hello, I'm freaking out. Can somebody because in that moment you're selfish and you just want to know if your baby is okay. So the doctor was his bedside manner sucked. So he's like, well, I can go ahead and, they did a physical exam down there and everything. He's like, well, I can go ahead and tell you that you're probably having a miscarriage. Be prepared for the worst, but expect the best kind of speech he gave, which was ridiculous. But I told them that I wanted an ultrasound. I wanted to know. I wanted to see if the baby was in there and if the heart was beating and everything. So if you're a mom, you know, at 6 weeks, there's not a whole lot to see. So they put in this Foley bulb up inside of me, and they filled it with they filled my bladder with water, and that makes it to where you can see everything inside my uterus a lot better. So they did that, and as soon as she stuck the little internal ultrasound stick, whatever you want to call it, as soon as she stuck it in, I saw the little bean, and automatically I was like, a little sigh of relief, but then I was like, but is the heart beating? But is the heart beating? And then I saw a little tiny flicker, and then she turned on the sound, and we could hear, and it was very slow. And they were telling me that you know, that could mean that something bad's going to happen, or it couldn't. So, and this is the emergency room. This wasn't my OBGYN or anything. This was people that didn't specialize in pregnancy. So I held on to that little bit of hope with my little picture of my baby, and I just continued on trying to be positive and not worry about it. So I was continuing on in my pregnancy, and when I was 7 weeks pregnant, we had a I'm trying not to cry. We had a loss in my family. I've discussed that in other videos. My aunt, who I called my Mama Joyce, we lost her when I was about 7.5 weeks along with Noah. So that was a big hit to me during my pregnancy. But then, after that happened, we were about 7.5 weeks along, and we finally got to see the baby again. And this was my first ultrasound at my doctor's appointment. And they were like, I can't believe that they told you were probably having a miscarriage. It was implantation bleeding. And the baby's heartbeat is going to be low early on in pregnancy. They said I was thinking I was like 6 weeks. And they said I was probably like 5 weeks. And very early on, the heartbeats are lower than they are when they're usually 140s, 160s later on in pregnancy. So, that made me feel a lot better. So, they gave me an ultrasound. And I saw the little baby, and then the little arm buds and the little leg buds, and the heartbeat was going, and it was really steady. And that was like a huge sigh of relief. I was so excited and so happy. And from that moment, I was like, this baby is so wanted and so loved already. And I just was very excited, and my motherly instinct kicked in, and I was like, I'll do anything I can to protect this baby from anything. So they did the ultrasound, and they gave us the due date, and Noah's due date was April 1st, 2010. My pregnancy was mostly in 2009, but it was April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2010 was his due date. So I continued on in my pregnancy, and around 20 weeks, everybody finds out really early now, but back then, this was 6 years ago, or probably 7 years ago. I guess you could count the pregnancy as 7 years ago. But they didn't do the early ultrasounds. That wasn't an option. So I waited until I was about 19 weeks, 5 days, I think it was. We found out that we were having a boy, and we were so excited. We had one girl, and now we're going to have one boy, and we were very, very excited to have one of each. And we decided on his name, and we picked Noah from the Bible, and we picked Jackson from my grandfather that had passed away. And we call him Noah Jack now, but that's where we got his name, and we knew that that's what we wanted to name him if it was a boy. We already had our names picked out going into the ultrasound. So we were very excited and loved finding out that we were having a boy, and Emma was getting excited about having a baby brother. So we just were continuing on in my pregnancy, and Noah's pregnancy was very, very rough on me. I was battling with, I didn't know at the time, but it was severe nausea, but it wasn't just pregnancy nausea. I had gallstones, so I had a lot of pain and a lot of nausea, but I was just happy to be able to carry him. After having the scare of a miscarriage, I was just happy that he was still in there and thriving. So I was going to endure whatever it took just to get my baby here. So I was battling with gallstones and that kind of stuff, and low iron and low potassium, and he was sucking the life out of me, basically. So it was a really, really rough pregnancy on me. But there were some exciting times that kind of overshadowed how I was feeling, and one of those was our 3D ultrasound. This was the first 3D ultrasound I had ever had, and when I saw him, I just bawled crying because his little face looked just like me as a baby, and he really is my twin. If you look, he has like my chin and my nose and my whole head shape and everything, and he just looked just like me. And that made me even more excited, seeing his little face and getting to even more picture what he was going to look like, and that he looked like me, because when Emma was a baby, she looked just like Matt. But so that was something very exciting. So that kind of overshadowed all the I was feeling. And then a few weeks after my ultrasound, we were getting ready for my baby shower. So that was exciting. I had a baby shower for Emma, and now I was going to have a baby shower for my son. So I was really excited about that, and all my family and friends came and showered Noah with lots of gifts and things that we needed for him. And then after that, it was just the waiting game to see when he was going to make his way into the world. I went to one of my last appointments, and she just went ahead and scheduled an induction. I was induced with Emma, so they induced me with Noah. and his due date was April 1st, so 1 week before that they induced me, which was March 25th. And they always schedule you to come in really early so they can do all your paperwork and everything. So we went in at 5 o'clock in the morning. My mom stayed with Emma, so Emma stayed at home with my mom. And Matt and his sister were in the room when I had Noah. So they were there with me when they were hooking me up to everything and getting me started on Pitocin and all that stuff. And I got an epidural and everything, and his labor was easy. I think just one side of the epidural worked, but at that point I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna go with it. One side will hurt and one side won't. So I just went with it. But other than the epidural not working, I had a smooth labor, and when he came out, it was just I barely pushed, because when the doctor checked me the last time, or when the nurse checked me the last time, he was like right there, and they were like, wait, don't move. So they had to get my doctor, and as soon as she was there, I did like a half a push, and he was here. He was the cutest baby I have ever seen. Of course, all my kids were cute, but just something about him, I'm not really sure what it was, but just something about him was like an instant connection. And he was my only baby with hair. He came out with a full-on mohawk, and he was the only baby I had that had any hair, and I was so excited about that. And it was just instant love, and we were so excited to have our first son, and all the rush of adrenaline, and you're just so happy, and you don't even realize you're so exhausted. But we were so excited, and the first day in the hospital, it was pretty, normal. You just rest and take care of the baby and everything. And then the second day in the hospital came, and I was trying to nurse him, and he wouldn't really latch on because he just could not. He kept spitting up, and a lot of it was like the mucus. How when they first come out, they have lots of stuff come out, which is from them being inside the womb for so long. So I thought that was kind of normal or whatever, but I ended up not being able to nurse him because he was just so uncomfortable all the time with spitting up, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I asked the nurse, I was like, well, do you think this is because he only came out in like a half a push, so he wasn't really squeezed through to get all the mucus and amniotic fluid and stuff out? And she said, yeah, that could be a possibility. So we went home after a couple days in the hospital, and we went about our time as being a family of 4. We were getting used to having 2 kids. And I just had a feeling in my heart that something was not right. Like, my child should not be spitting up everything he eats. He should not throw up yes, babies spit up. That's completely normal. And I knew that because Emma spit up. But my child should not be throwing up every single ounce that he just ate. There's no way he should be like this. And his doctor at the time, oh, it's normal, it's normal. No, honey, it's not normal. I'm his mother, and I know that. So I kept taking him to his visits, and she started he wasn't gaining any weight. My son was 2 months old. He was 7 pounds, 6 ounces at birth. At 3 months old, my son was only 8 pounds, 6 ounces. So he was not gaining weight like he should have been at all. Like, that's not what they say is normal or on the right growing curve. So finally, after 3 months of me telling this woman that something is not right with my son, and like every week checkups for 3 months, finally she's like, at a visit, she's finally listened to me crying and squalling to tell her this is not right. He doesn't look the way he's supposed to. My child looked so skeletal, and he looked kind of like a sucker. His head was just this big round, and then his body was just tiny. I'm telling you, his legs were as big around as my thumbs. Not normal at all. And I was doing everything possible for my baby to gain weight, and he just wasn't. So at 3 months old, we went to a weekly weight check appointment. And she was like, well, we're going to admit him into the hospital. This has gone too far. And I'm thinking, duh, you're the one that let it get this far. I don't understand why you're saying it's gone on too long when I'm screaming out for help from you and you're not helping me. So she wanted to admit him into the hospital for failure to thrive. And we left the doctor's office and came home and got stuff, some clothing and stuff for me, because I was going to stay with him, because there's no way in hell I was going to leave my baby with anybody but me. So I packed a bag for me and Noah, and we went and stayed in the hospital, and we were there for 4 days. And they had diagnosed him with failure to thrive, and he was hooked up to all the IVs, and they tried all these formulas, and nothing really worked. We left the hospital with no answers really for anything. And they did like the ultrasound to make sure he didn't have pyloric stenosis or anything like that. So they did everything possible they could, but we came home with no answers. And for me as a mother, coming home without any answers as to why my baby looks so severely sick like he does was just frustrating to go through that. And for them to tell me that my baby looked like he could die at any moment from being so malnourished, it felt like a defeat for me as a mother, being told that. And you feel like a failure, like, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm trying so hard. Every waking minute was for that child, and just feeling like I'm not doing something right, and I just felt so defeated. And we kept going to the doctor's appointments and weekly weight checks and everything that we were supposed to be doing. Nothing was changing. So they wanted to do, they start with him spitting up so much, they wanted us to do a test for cystic fibrosis. And I'm telling you, that was scary. Look up cystic fibrosis and you'll understand what I mean. And we were told that he had, I'm sorry, Jonah's having a fit at the door. But they were telling us that could be a possibility, because so much mucus that was coming up with his spit up every time. So they thought that was a great possibility. So the test for cystic fibrosis is they take these little bracelets that has like a ring on it, and they put them on you, and you wear them, and you sweat into them, and the sweat fills up inside, and then they test that. They test your sweat, and that's how they tell if people have cystic fibrosis or not. It's like the salt content in their sweat is like outrageous. So we went and did one test, and it came back and it said that he was in the range of having cystic fibrosis. And our hearts were like sunk, because we had been reading stuff which we shouldn't have been, and we just were devastated. We went to the doctor, and she was reading the results and stuff, and she was like, we're going to send you somewhere else to get a test done again. So we get the test, we go, and he does the little sweat things again, and he's a trooper throughout all of this. He doesn't know any better. He's smiling through all of it. And we go and have a sweat test done again, and the results come back completely negative, that he does not have cystic fibrosis. So we went through a scare from this other place that did the test. I don't know how they messed that up, but it scared us to death. Nobody wants anything wrong with their child. I mean, nobody would want to go through that. So I was just so enraged that I was terrified for like 2 weeks straight about it. And then we come to find out he's completely fine. He doesn't have that. So we ruled out every possible kind of thing going on, pyloric stenosis, cystic fibrosis, and everything like that. So I'm still like, well, what in the heck is going on? Why is he still like this? The doctors weren't helping. Nowhere was helping. Nothing was helping. So finally, I look into a nutritionist, and I really wish that woman was Noah's doctor, like pediatrician from the beginning. I wish she was a pediatrician, because I would have her. we went to her, and she got him on a regimen of, I had to feed him 2 ounces every 2 hours with 2 tablespoons of rice cereal in it. And I was exhausted all the time, but I got up with Noah every 2 hours around the clock. And finally, hallelujah, my child started gaining weight. It was like a miracle. The little rolls just started coming on, and I just was so thankful for that woman, and so thankful that she finally could give me the answers that I needed. And I was filled with frustration for this other doctor that never helped at all. And that's what her job is to help and help find answers, and she never even gave a damn. And that's what frustrated me. But then this woman helped me to get him to start gaining weight. And I finally saw him looking like a healthy 6-month-old baby to start gaining weight, and just looked awesome. And it was amazing to see. And that was the first year of his life was the hardest thing Matt and I have ever gone through. And it tested us as parents. It tested our relationship. And it brought out something in me as a mother. Try not to cry. It brought out a mama bear in me. That, of course, I had been a mother for 2 years already to Emma. But this brought out something in me like a mama bear that wanted to protect her child no matter what. And I wanted to know what was going on with my baby. And I wasn't going to stop until I knew. So that brought out a whole new part of me that I didn't know was inside of me, because I was like a reserved person, and I would never speak out to say, look, what the hell is going on? But Noah brought that out in me, because I wanted to know what was going on with my baby, and I needed to know. So he brought out that deep maternal instinct of mama bear in me that I didn't know was in there, and he helped grow me as a mother. Sure, I had been a mom for 2 years, but there's something that comes along with being a mother of 2 kids, and one that's having problems, that brings out more in you. And each child I had brought out a different part of me, and he brought out my motherly instinct, the deep-seated mama bear inside of me. He brought it out. He unleashed the beast in me. But now that he is about to be 6 years old, you can't tell that anything was ever going on with him. He eats like a champ. He's growing like a champ. He's an active, smart little boy. And I'm so thankful for him in my life. I'm so thankful for him, because he is so smart and so kind-hearted. And he's my firstborn son. And I could not have handpicked a better child. And he brings so much joy into the entire family. He brings so much love and light and laughter into our family. And I love him so much. And I cannot believe that he is 6 years old already. It seems like yesterday I was finding out that I was pregnant with him. And I cannot believe it's already been 6 years. But Noah Jackson, I want you to know that you mean the absolute world to us. You are the best son, the best big brother and little brother, the best grandson that any of us could ask for. And I hope that you know that how special you are to all of us. And I know you're going to grow up to do amazing things. You're going to do great things with your life. And I hope that your 6th birthday brings lots of happiness, and I'll do my best to make sure it is a great birthday. I love you, Bubby, and I hope you have a great birthday. I love you.